All right, peace, family. It's been a while since I've been on YouTube. Back to do another video, but this one is going to be kind of short, and it's going to be dealing with the documentary film that I watched yesterday on Netflix. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you have already watched the video. You know, it's something that's floating around on social media right now, and that is the docu-film entitled "When They See Us." So I watched the first episode yesterday. I'm gonna try to watch the second episode today and finish up the rest of the episodes later on this week. But what I wanted to do was, I wanted to come on here and talk about not necessarily the movie, but what I wanted to do was to flip this thing around to the point where instead of us looking at it based off of the title, when they see us, let's flip it around and look at it from this point of view, when we see them. And I wanted to do that based off of what I heard Black Dot talking about this morning on his podcast when he, gave his critique of the film and what he felt like the film represented to him, as far as if we were to put it in a genre. And to him, he said that this shit was basically like a horror film. And when I thought about it, I was like, after watching the first episode, I was like, yo, he has a point there, and looking at the first episode based off of how, the attitude of these kids were as they were being questioned by these people. They were terrified. They didn't know what to expect. They didn't know what was going on. They didn't even know how to react to the situation that was at hand. And so, looking at it through that particular lens, looking through their eyes, I would imagine that that's how they saw, the situation as, they are the prey and these motherfuckers are the boogeyman. So that's what leads me into doing this particular video. People of color in this country, especially black and brown people, whether that be the men, the women, or the children, we have always been faced with this, how can I say it, with this sense of, being in an environment that is not safe. And when you hear stories about a boogeyman, these are stories that are used to, scare people. But when you look at the situations that we have had to deal with growing up in this country, living in this country, and dealing with the laws and things that are put forth in this country that they say we are supposed to abide by, but the people who enforce those laws usually get away with anything and everything that these laws are supposed to curtail. It makes you look at it from the point of view that you are in a goddamn nightmare. And that's basically what people of color go through in this country, especially black people. And that's not just the men, that's the men, the women, and the children. So I'm gonna title this video When We See Them, because when we see them, and you can ask yourself this question, how the fuck does that make you feel? Now, does that mean that all of us are scared of these people? Hell no. Some of us could, care less. Some of us are just that bold, just that courageous, where we're like, bring that shit on. But that anxiety, that initial anxiety that you have when you encounter these people, it can bring on an anxiety of, to the point where, you're having to check yourself, whether that be, the way you dress, the way you look, the way that you speak, your status in life. Hell, even when you're coming out of your goddamn house and you get in your car, and let's say you're on your way to work or you're on your way to the grocery store, and you happen to cross paths with the police officer, whether that police officer is bypassing you on the road or that police officer pulls up behind you while you're commuting to wherever it is that you're traveling to, you get this sense of anxiety. Your posture changes. You make sure that you're obeying the traffic laws as far as coming to a complete stop. When you make a lane change, you're making sure that you're putting your signal on so that you don't get pulled by this motherfucker, because you don't know what the fuck is going to happen when he or she pulls you. You don't know what the fuck you're dealing with. And you're not looking at these people as peacekeepers. at that particular point in time. You're looking at this motherfucker like, okay, let me play my shit the way I need to play it, whether he's an asshole or not, so that I can get from point A to point B safely, so that I can get back to my family safely. And these are things that we deal with on a daily basis, man. Even when you're sitting in the privacy of your home and you have to leave out of your home, you know, you have to put yourself on guard because you don't know what to expect, you know, in these days and times, especially with the things that we've seen on social media as it pertains to police and civilian, or should I say, people of color interactions. Because we've seen on numerous occasions where, you know, for whatever fucking reason, and it could be, you know, some simple ass shit, a person is alive 1 minute and dead the next, and these motherfuckers get off scot-free. And you know, it's a tragedy and it's unfortunate, but we're living in a day and time where when you think about horror films, we live this shit 24/7, man. You're always looking out for the goddamn boogeyman. The boogeyman is real. Don't let anybody tell you that, you know, there's no such thing as a boogeyman, because we see these motherfuckers in politics. You got one now that's a goddamn president, and subsequently all of the other presidents that came before this motherfucker represented that same system, which makes them a product of that boogeyman syndrome. Even when it has a trickle down effect to, you know, the military, the police force, even down to your fucking job, man. You got to be on your P's and Q's, just like with me doing this goddamn video. And there are other people out there that do similar things as far as what I'm doing now, that have social media platforms, whether they're using Facebook, IG, YouTube, what have you, whatever the platform is, they're using that platform to spread awareness. But here's the downside to it. You got to worry about that boogeyman. What do I mean by that? Depending on the content of your video, the content of whatever it is that you're putting out, you got to worry about how this shit is going to be scrutinized, and if it's going to get back to your employer or whatever it is that you're doing, to the point where if that's dealing with your livelihood, your income, how you take care of yourself and your family, you have to worry about these motherfuckers looking at your shit and then scrutinizing it in a way to where they take it all out of context and make the shit look like it's detrimental to society, to the point where you can lose your job. You can lose endorsements. You can lose all kind of shit behind, you know, speaking your mind. And a lot of times, you know, when people speak their mind, they're not speaking their mind because they want likes and views and whatnot, especially the people who do what I do. You know, people who are giving you social commentary because they want to see a change in society. But, you know, you can lose a lot of shit based off of doing these things. So you're sitting back wondering, after you make these videos, okay, what type of shit am I going to have to go through? What boogeyman is going to come after me? Is it going to be the police? Is it going to be the feds? Is it going to be, you know, my employer? You never know, you know, what is waiting around the corner for you when you're dealing with, you know, what we're dealing with as far as what I'm talking about now, you know, as far as putting out, you know, this type of content. But whether you're putting out this type of content or not, it is something that, you know, a lot of people of color have to deal with on a daily basis. And even, you know, where I work in the school system. And, you know, I try to talk to these kids all the time, man. I'm like, look, you are behind enemy lines. For the most part, you have to keep yourself on a different footing versus all of the other kids if you're black or you're a brown child. Why? Because when the shit goes down, you're going to be the first one that they're going to target. You're going to be the first one to get expelled. You're going to be the first one to get suspended. You're going to be the first one to go into what is called in-school suspension. And 9 times out of 10, when you look at those particular things that I just mentioned, especially in-school suspension, the majority of the kids that fill those things up are brown and black children. But how do they view those things? Now, that's not to say that they don't do stupid shit. They're kids, man. They're going to do stupid shit. But the point that I'm trying to make is this. They don't look at a lot of these people as, you know, friends or friendly people. They look at them as monsters, the boogeyman. You know, this is a motherfucker that I gotta fear because of what he or she can do to me. That's the environment that they grow up in. So when they leave the privacy of their home and they go out there into the world, they're going out there into the world that is not a make-believe world. It's some real shit and it's scary. You're walking into some shit and you don't even have a clue as to what you're walking into. And then if you're one of these kids who are not disciplined, when you get caught up into that shit and you realize, okay, I'm in some shit that I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna get out of it, then that's when reality hits. And you know, they become scared. They're petrified as to what is going to take place, what is going to happen. They don't know if they're going to get suspended and go home. They don't know if they're going to be hit with a damn some type of law violation. They don't know what the case may be. Hell, they don't even know if they'll be able to even go home. They may even leave from the school and go straight to goddamn jail. So we're living in a world to where the shit that we see in movies and whatnot, that shit is real, minus all of the bullshit that goes on in movies. What I mean is, you know, that attitude, that fear of the so-called boogeyman. You know, that shit is real, man. And when you look at this film, when they see us, you can see the fear in these kids' eyes, especially in the first episode when I think all 5 of them were in like a holding room. And mind you, none of these kids knew each other. And so when they began to talk, they realized, oh shit, they got hit with the okie doke. They realized that these motherfuckers coerced them into saying shit about each of them that they didn't know the other person said, to the point where, you know, with them speaking and saying the things that they were coerced into saying, they realized that they fucked themselves to the point where they caused their own demise. But they were so scared and petrified at these motherfuckers, the way that they were coming at them. You know, these are grown ass men coming at 15-year-old boys who on any given day, they probably really didn't have any fear until they got put in that situation. And they looking at these big grown ass men. You know, some of them were being roughed up. You know, they were been hollered at, cussed at, and then they didn't have anyone there to defend them. And then the ones that did have someone there to defend them, like I think it was the kid that got hit in the park with the helmet by the police officer. No, not him. It was the other kid that his father was played by an old boy that played Omar in The Wire. You know, looking at his dad, or looking at the gentleman that played that part and the way he expressed himself during the time that his son was being questioned. Hell, he was scared than his fucking child. And that was because of what the officer said to him in the hallway about his job, because the brother had a record. And he basically threatened this dude that if you don't tell your son to go along with the program, then we're gonna fuck your shit up too, meaning you're gonna lose this goddamn job because you got a record, bruh. So now he's gonna get at his son. And then and if you notice how his attitude changed when the cop was talking to him, he was scared. He was a grown-ass man looking like a little boy. But when he went to go and talk to his son, you know, he stood up with his chest up. You know, that fear was still there, but it was more anger and fear at the same time, because he's like, look, boy, you got to stand up and you got to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, because if you don't, these motherfuckers is going to fuck me up with my goddamn job. And I need this job so I can take care of the family. Just tell them what they want to hear so we can go home. Not knowing that he was helping his son dig himself in a hole that was so deep he was not going to be able to get out of. But again, that fear is there. But this is a fear that goes all the way back to slavery. This is some shit that they instilled in us to the point where it still permeates throughout the black community to this very day. It still permeates throughout the brown community to this very day. And they know this shit. And that's why it's so easy to use these scare tactics. So when Black Dot decided to turn this movie as far as a genre as a horror flick, I could not disagree with him, because, you know, I kept thinking about this shit while I'm on my way to work, and I'm like, damn, you know, this shit is, you know, if you really think about it, it was about like the movie called Get Out, where this dude walks into this situation with this chick that he was involved with, thinking he's going to a goddamn family function, which it was a family function, but it was a family function that he was not going to be a part of in a sense, but on a literal level, he was going to be a part of it, because they are going to take his goddamn body and discard his fucking mind. This was like some invasion of the body snatchers type shit. And once he realized what the fuck these people were doing, it was like a horror show. And, you know, it was mind boggling to think that, you know, these people have been doing this shit for years. And it's the same thing with what I'm talking about now, as far as when we see them. They've been doing this shit for years. These are tactics that they have always used. And now they're using these tactics around the world. But we were the, what is it that I'm looking for? We were the test subjects. They tested this shit out on us first. And once they found a formula that worked, they go around doing this shit all over the goddamn planet, man. They do it with everybody. Everybody that they want to try to conquer. Everybody that they want to try to subdue. Everybody that they want to try to kill. Everybody that they want to try and take whatever resources that they have. They use these fucking scare tactics. Whether it's physical scare tactics, economic scare tactics, whatever the scare tactic may be, even when it comes down to dealing with food and shelter, they use these scare tactics to the point where people fear and they feel like they don't have an option. They feel like the only other choice that they have is to submit to the boogeyman, or get killed by the boogeyman, eaten by the boogeyman, discarded by the boogeyman. Either way it go, you're gonna meet your demise when you're dealing with the boogeyman. So, you know, dealing with this whole atmosphere of living in hell, that's us. You know, we didn't get a chance to, you know, as descendants of those people who are supposed to be from African descent, as a descendant of those people who are the aboriginal people of this part of the planet, meaning North America throughout South America. We didn't grow up in heaven, man. We are the product of, you know, hell, because that's what we were placed in. We were never given the opportunity to even get a glimpse or a taste of what heaven was. So we've always had to deal with the so-called boogeyman, or this fucking monster that is in the lurking in the goddamn closet while you're, as a child, sitting on your bed with the covers pulled up over your head, or the boogeyman is up under your bed. We've always lived with that shit, except in reality, the boogeyman is not in the closet. The boogeyman is not up under the bed. The boogeyman lives next door to you. The boogeyman is the fucking politician. The boogeyman is a goddamn president. The boogeyman is the police. The boogeyman is a lawyer. The boogeyman is a prosecutor. The boogeyman is that goddamn businessman that comes into your neighborhood and corners the goddamn market, sell you shit that he or she doesn't even goddamn use, because they came in and studied your environment, set up a damn system to the point where they're like, nigga, you either gonna buy from me or you're gonna starve. You're gonna die. You're gonna always be on the bottom because we control all this shit. That's the boogeyman. So that's basically what I wanted to come on, man, and say and talk about. You know, it's just a little short video. I wanted to get this shit off my chest because, you know, when, like I said, when the brother coined this shit the way he coined it, that it was a fucking horror flick. You know, that's basically what it was. I think it's a 6-part series that, what is the sister name? I think her name is Ava DuVernay. I think I'm pronouncing that right, but if not, y'all know what the fuck I'm talking about. You know, this sister, since she's came out, she's been doing some phenomenal work, and I hope she keeps it up. I hope to follow in her footsteps one day, because I'm a writer as well, and I'm trying to get some projects up off the ground. But she did a thing with this particular docu series. I'm hoping that she flips the script and then do it through a different lens based off of what I'm talking about now, instead of it being how the fuck they see us, how the fuck we see them. You know, let's get some perspective on that shit. And if she did the shit that she did with this fucking movie, there's no telling what she can do if she flipped the script and film it, do a film through the lens of how black and brown people see these motherfuckers. It's about like that movie, can't remember the name of it, but it was a horror flick where, you know, you got citizens, people that are walking around, they don't know they're among fucking monsters, goddamn boogeymen, and then they get these glasses, and when they put these glasses on, they see these motherfuckers for who and what they really are. That's the shit that we're living in. So if she can do some shit like that, man, flip the script and let us get a movie, a docu-series based on that shit, I think that would be bigger than, you know, the one that she just did. But, you know, like I said, the sister is phenomenal. She's been doing phenomenal work. I think she brought light to a situation that has had light, because there have been plenty of people who have spoken on this even before this came out. But I think she kind of like sealed the deal on it to the point where you got more people talking about it, not just the incident that happened with these young men, but just what black and brown people have had to go through in this country for years, in a system that was not by us, that was not for us, and has always sought and seeks to destroy black and brown people by any means necessary, even if they have to fucking lie and coerce you into saying and doing some shit that you did not do, but you submit to the shit. One, because you're ignorant to the law. Two, you're ignorant to scare tactics. And three, you're ignorant to warfare. So when you're ignorant to all three of those things, you usually succumb to whatever it is this beast, this boogeyman wants you to succumb to, and then they got you. Hook, line, and sinker. Now you sitting in a goddamn cell, rotting away, and they go on with their daily lives. So that's my take on, you know, how I was feeling. And like I said, it was based off of, you know, this docuseries that, you know, is floating around on social media now, and it's got a strong following, and it's got a buzz, and, you know, it's got this light up on it to where, you know, it's shining a lot of light on the bullshit of this corrupt system in what is called the United States of America. So like I said, my hat goes off to the sister that brought this to the forefront. My hat goes off to them 5 brothers that managed to get through this shit, but they didn't get through this shit, you know, and not be scarred. Those guys are going to be scarred for the rest of their goddamn lives, man. But so is the black community and brown community as a whole. We are scarred people. We are going to have to live with the things that have been done to our ancestors, and things that have been done to our loved ones, and things that have been done to us as a whole for the rest of our lives. And I'm going to end on this note, and I'm paraphrasing. There was a scene in the movie Doctor Strange where Doctor Strange was talking to the Ancient One. No, it wasn't Doctor Strange. It was the brother that was in the movie. The one, the brother, the actor named Chiwetel Ejiofor. I think that's the way you pronounce his name. I'm probably fucking it up, but his character, where he was talking to the Ancient One, and he was like, you know, you helped me to get rid of my demons. And the Ancient One was like, no, we never get rid of our demons. We just learn to live with them and put them in a place to where we can cope and deal with life. And that's basically what we do. You never forget those things, man. Those scars, when people tell you that shit heals, that shit does not heal, man. You live with that shit for the rest of your life. You just learn how to deal with it. You have to develop some type of coping mechanism in order to, you know, function. But, you know, you usually end up get into a better place, but it will always be something that will remind you of what you've been through. And then it's like reliving that shit all over again. And all of us that watched this beautiful, beautiful film, you will have to admit that it touched you in a way to where you even thought about the situations that you were in, or the situations that some of your loved ones were in, or a friend that either lost their lives based on some ignorant shit like what we saw in this particular movie, or they were incarcerated and the majority of their life was just taken away from them. So again, my hat goes off to the sister. Thank you, thank you, thank you for what you've been doing in the film industry. Keep doing the works that you're doing. My hat goes off to those brothers. Like I said earlier, you know, you guys, y'all are some strong brothers, man, and you survived to come out on the other side. Hopefully you can put your lives back together and move on beyond this. But we support you guys. We got your backs. We love y'all. And it's good that you guys are back home and out of the belly of the beast. But the fight must continue. Salute to you. Peace and blessings and black power.